Today, we're going to walk you through a new website that we are building for a concrete lifter out of Colorado. And we'll start by taking a look at their current website and looking at kind of the shortcomings of it and where they can really go from there and what we built them instead. So we'll jump over to their website that they currently have up. And all right, so kind of some things that we noticed right away. Logo a little bit difficult to see, doesn't really add any value there. Here we see a photo of a home. If we scroll down, it's just a nice looking, well-maintained home. So nothing that outwardly screams concrete lifting other than, some terminology, but visually nothing really screams that. We look at the graphics here, nothing, just some generic graphics. And then coming down further, just some blocks of text that are a little bit difficult to read there. A HMI image here and some more HMI graphics and text. A couple of settings about what they're doing in terms of services, and so a decent amount of written content on there. But what strikes me is there is really no problem photos, right? People come to a concrete lifting company because they have a problem that they need solved, right? So, the first thing that we always think about with concrete lifting websites and design and marketing is really the psychology of it, right? And what is causing somebody to call or search for a concrete lifter or a problem that they have. And it's usually something that they run into at their home, right? There might be a trip hazard, there might be pooling water, all these different problems that they see. And so the website needs to visually be able to connect with prospects and people who are looking for a solution to their problem. And when they come to a site like this and they just see generic stock photos, ultimately it's not helping this business get any customers calling here. So that's the home page. If we take a look at their lifting page here, or rather their menu here, you'll see we've got just a couple of pages here. And in a total, it's 9 pages. So this is very common in what we see, right? Generally speaking, guys build a website in their first year, and it's kind of a starter brochure-style website, and it sits there for a few years, and then they realize, hey, you know what? Let's start making some more money, and let's build this out the right way. So again, this is very common style of website that we see before we then really take it to the next level and turn it into a real sales tool. All right, so this is the lifting page. This is better. We've at least got an example showing a problem here and what it looked like afterwards, so that's good. But other than that, a little bit here, although nothing really calling specific attention. Some of these photos without arrows and things like that are very, much close to, like, really, really close-ups. It can be difficult for an average customer to know what they're looking at, right? They don't have an eye for this stuff like you and I do. This is a good photo, that's helpful. But by and large, this page doesn't have a lot of content on there. It doesn't really show too much about the process, right? I mean, you get a little photo here of the process, but it doesn't really show you a lot, right? So that's kind of the extent of the website. We've got an About Us page here, which this is great. Love the photo. I encourage everyone to do that. That's great. It humanizes you. It makes people want to hire you. So that's great. But then coming down here again, some graphics, and then more photos that, again, not a lot of context for the average consumer to see, right? What's going to sell is seeing, better before and afters close up, but also the problems, really calling out the problems that people visually want to see, right? So things like that. So that's kind of the extent of the website. There's not too much to it. Other things that we noticed, besides the visuals not being there, it's terminology as well, right? Again, people come to ultimately land on a website because they are looking for a solution to a problem. And if you are not including all the terminology that your potential customers are searching for, it's going to be very difficult to pop up on Google and AI searches. At the end of the day, very high level, if you have the words on your website that people are searching for on AI or on Google and things, you're a match. Those tools, the AI, Google, they want to find a match for whatever somebody's searching for. So if you have just a small 9-page website like this, and it doesn't go into a lot of depth on all the different service areas, we just talk generally here about residential and commercial lifting, but they don't drill down to all the different problem areas that people have around their homes and so forth. So when you just have a small site like this, it just inherently becomes more difficult to reach customers. You kind of think of it as with a small site like this that we refer to as a brochure-style website. Essentially, the more pages that you have, it's more lines in the water to catch customers. And when you only have 9 pages, it makes it difficult to catch a lot of customers. That, and like I said, you're missing visuals, and we're missing actual terminology and words that people are searching for. For instance, if we do a search on this page, you won't find the word void anywhere. And as we all know, one of the big things that drives calls is people see a visual void under some steps or a slab around their home, and they don't know what the service is that needs to fix it, but they know they can grab their phone and say, "How do I fix a void under my driveway?" and things like that. So by having the words void on there, they would stand a much better chance of popping up on Google and AI searches when somebody searches for voids in their area. So that's the idea here. It's, again, very much a decent looking website. It's professional looking, but to turn it into a full-time 24/7 365 sales tool is a whole other thing. And so now we're going to jump over to the website that we built them and show you kind of really the big difference here. All right, so this is the site, and just out of the gate, want to show some things off here. Warranties, reviews. Again, everything has to be done through the consumer lens, right? So what we want to really focus on is building trust, right? Trust is the name of the game here. People do not want to get their concrete lifted, right? Or they don't want polyfoam, they don't want mud jacking. All they want is a problem fixed. And so we need to educate them about why you are a good solution and overcome all the objections and fears that they have, because they have plenty and people don't know about concrete lifting, right? So they come to your website, they might think, okay, I get the idea of it, but how is it going to look? Is my yard going to, or is my nice stamped concrete going to look like garbage after this? Are they going to be drilling holes in there? Like, no, thanks. That sounds terrible. People have all these major concerns. Maybe they got a very expensive pool deck, and the thought of working around that environment and drilling through their concrete there or messing up their pool, is like, very much a fear that they have. So we've got to overcome all of that by the website. And so this should be the best sales tool that you possibly have, right? So we're going to talk about trust. You're going to see things right out of the gate. We're building trust. They've got great reviews. They've got a warranty. And while it's only a 3-year warranty, you know what? They scream it loud and proud. Many guys don't have it on their website at all. So even a 3-year warranty, while just kind of, a mid-grade warranty, if you will, it's still outperforming, in this case, most of the competitors, because other guys don't even mention that they have a warranty on their website. So we call that stuff out right away. We also, right out of the gate, concrete leveling, where we do it, and then some of the quick benefits here: cost less, ready to use right away, and then some examples. So visually, compared to the other site, visually, boom, people see, okay, there's a trip hazard right in front of my door. There is no question here about what this website is all about. It's about fixing things like that people have around their home or their business, right? All right, coming down from there. All right, getting into proof and overcoming fears. Boom, we've got video right here. It just shows how clean and simple and quick the process can be, and it doesn't come off as something that's scary that you've got to work at. And so that's just one example, and we'll get into many of those, right? Speaking of which, all kinds of before and afters, all these different settings here. Now we get into, again, this is a residential focused website. So we've got all the different settings that people generally have around their homes. And, again, visually, people quickly see these things in the exact same settings that they have them around their home. We talked about voids before. Okay. You can see all these different things. You can see trip hazards, pool decks, all the different areas, slabs, all this different stuff. So if you're a consumer who arrives on this page versus the existing website, you're immediately going to have more confidence. Can you say, okay, that's my exact problem. That's my problem. Okay, yes. And they quickly identify with that. And you've got to imagine people are scanning, they're scrolling quickly on their phone. And so you've got to be able to interrupt that pattern and quickly get them to see what they have, or, the problem that they have, so that they want to dig more into you. So again, trust through all these before and afters, by showing the process, by showing all the current Google reviews. We are building trust. And now we're also answering all the questions that people have, right? And so here we've got FAQ section, but it's broken up into these different areas that just allow people to scan to, whatever's relevant to them. Over here on the right, we've got more trust building, before and afters, video showing what's going on here, all this stuff. It answers people's questions. It makes them less worried about whatever this new, services that they learned about or have discovered. And so all this stuff just makes it easy. So you can see how this becomes a massive sales tool. And then we also explain, hey, everywhere that they are searching for. Right now they just are really targeted kind of around one area in Colorado. And through the proper strategies, we are able to really expand their footprint online and just really expand their reach. And so we've got lots of different city focus pages on the website as well. And so that's going to allow them to just really drive a lot more business that way. All right, coming down from there, you'll notice we have a lot of content packed into this site, right? The current website actually has a decent amount of content compared to most guys, but again, it was still missing things, and it was definitely missing, all the proof factors, right? So that's a look at the homepage. Now, just going to jump over to just a couple other pages here. Let's take a look at, for instance, one of the residential pages here. All right, let's just grab garage floor leveling. All right, so instantly, picture of an actual garage floor. And actually, let's back up. Notice we've got every single one of those different areas people can click on, right? So we're not talking in generalities anymore with customers, right? We're not saying, hey, we do concrete lifting, like, the one page that they have here about concrete lifting. We are talking about, hey, we do them exactly in the setting that you have, the exact problems that you have inside the garage, just like you're talking about. We do this day in and day out. So if you can build out these pages for each and every one of these settings, it's going to allow you to build that proof and that trust and overcome all that fear. And then it's going to also allow you to answer questions that are relevant to the specific setting of the problem that somebody has, right? Because again, it's one thing to say you do concrete lifting in general. It's another to say, hey, we can do it in all these different settings, and we know exactly what we're doing. Another great one I always point people to as a good example is pool decks. People spend a ton of money on pool decks, right? And the idea of somebody coming and drilling in them is, not somebody's first idea of fun, right? So you've got a lot of fear and worries to overcome there. So again, you've got to be able to answer all the questions that people have, show them real proof, and answer the exact questions that they have, right? So you'll notice we've got proof photos for each and every one of the different settings on those pages, to examples, not just one-off general concrete lifting photos. These are all pool deck photos, right? And then the frequently asked questions on those pages are tailored to that audience. For instance, is polyurethane foam safe around pools? And so we go into all that different stuff. And again, that is going to do two things for you. It's going to overcome all that fear and anxiety, with potential customers, and position you as the market leader in your area. But at the same time, all this content that we're looking at here, that all helps you pop up on Google and AI searches and get found. So all this stuff works together because, again, where do AI and Google, where do they pull that information from when they're looking to, list businesses, right? They find a relevant local website. And if you're the only one in town who's going into this sort of depth, guess who's going to win? Who's going to get more positioning? And ultimately, who's going to be the best resource for customers? So when they arrive on your website here, they don't leave. They call you because they have every question they have answered. They see every bit of proof that they need. Nobody else in the area has that. There's a natural call. So that's the idea here of how we build these out. In this case, we went from a 9-page website up to a 33-page website. And again, this is residential focused. In this case, we do have one singular page here for commercial settings. That's kind of just to build on later. And we can do the same thing in time and build out pages for all the different commercial settings that they're looking to target, be that warehouse floors, factory floors, restaurants, you name it, all kinds of different things we can target there. And it's the same idea. By creating pages that are tailored to that audience, you're going to get found, and you're going to close jobs. Simple as that. So lastly, we just got a couple other pages over here in terms of services, contact page, and that's kind of the gist of it. But from 9 pages up to 33, and this should be a massive sales tool. And this will launch shortly, and we'll follow up with results afterwards. But I have no doubt that this will be just like all the others that we run through our system here, that this will rank quickly, very quickly. Usually within usually 2, 3, 4 days, we see a pretty impressive improvement in terms of visibility. And then over the next coming weeks, it usually continues to grow from there before it kind of pans out, and then we get a good sense as to where we shake out. But at that point, it will be absolutely a tool that's going to quickly drive a lot more traffic. And at the same time, with all this proof, with all these examples, with all the questions answered that people have, this will absolutely be a massive sales tool for this business. And these things pay themselves off very, very quickly as a result, and just makes for a lot better season. So if you are looking for any help like this, feel free to reach out to us.